Welcome to More Music Please, a Quarantine Beat. I'm your host, NK. Join me and my guest as we explore how the music industry is staying busy and keeping connected during lockdown, and also just talking about whatever. Let's get started. I'm good to go, so I got my little vodka drink here. I will just jump on in.
Yeah, I have my little gin drink. Okay, cool.
Excellent. On the line with me today is the lovely Olender, singer, songwriter, former member of Upstate and Not My Sister, and now doing your own thing until, of course, the pandemic happened. So, Allison, thank you for coming on.
Hey, MK, thank you so much for having me. Wow, I am excited.
Yeah, I saw you the other day. This came about because I ran into you and James at Stockade, enjoying their outdoor seating. How are you enjoying? Are we phase 2? Where are we at?
I feel like, is New York technically in phase 2? For anybody listening that doesn't know, we're in New York. I think I'm like tentatively phase 2. I've gone to 1 or 2 outdoor bars in the area. I still feel weird. Do you relate to that? I still feel kind of weird about it, but I want to support my businesses.
Exactly. I feel very torn because on the one hand, you know, these businesses have not been provided any kind of funding from the federal government to stay afloat. So they are relying on being open again. But I know so many of the people who work there are kind of doing it with a gun to their heads because, like, you know, they have to work to survive because the unemployment is ending and yada yada, but also they're like, I could very easily catch COVID and die. So yeah, I've been to, like you, I've been to a few outdoor seating situations. I'm really careful and respectful about the mask thing and, you know, trying to like not get in anybody's face, but yeah, it's very weird vibes right now.
I know. And we know a lot of the people that work at these places, and I feel like I've asked them, like, how are you feeling? And yeah, it's either one way or the other. I'm trying to just support the places where the people feel comfortable. But I know I was asked to go back to work inside at a restaurant, and I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Staying safe, doing the easiest thing in the entire world, which is wearing a mask.
I know. I finally have a good mask. I actually am helping out my friend at her shop down in Beacon a couple of days a week, and she sells very, very cute, like, you know, real masks, the kind that like conform to your nose and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is a game changer. I can like wear this comfortably for long periods of time. So it's easier than ever. Just get a decent mask.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get that info from you because I just hit the phase where I'm like, I want a cute mask. I don't know what that means. But I want one.
I'm kind of resisting the cute, like, I mean, I have friends who like sew their own to match their clothes, and I think that's amazing, but it's not really my style. I'm more like, you know, give me like a solid color, something utilitarian. I'm not 6 years old. I don't need like kitty cats on it, but I respect anybody's right to wear a kitty cat mask.
Kitty Cat Mask is my next album title, so I feel like it will hit with the, you know, what's going on. Not trying to profit, but Kitty Cat Mask is
you can have
it's got to be my next title.
You can have it. So yeah, how is your music going? Have you found this to be an inspiring time for songwriting, or too stressful to get anything done? Where are you at?
Oh, that's such a good question, MK. That's such a good question. I feel like many people in this industry, I feel both the stress and doom of what am I doing? Am I being creative enough? Am I writing enough? Also paired with the self-care of being like, oh, at least I'm healthy and safe and privileged, and I get to live in this space where I do have, you know, rights and a home and happiness and health. And so I just try not to get on myself too much about the not playing music right now. But do I miss it? Yeah, I miss playing shows. And right before this hit, I was supposed to record with Nick Kinsey. He's a incredible local producer and musician. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm fine. I can't find it in me to complain too much, except to, you know, sometimes to my friends, I get a little teary and I just say, I just wish I was playing more, especially because I just started this new solo career. So it hasn't even, I guess, really started yet. It was just starting.
Yeah, you had done a couple of tours with the Felice Brothers, right?
Mm-hmm. I did one run with the Fleece Brothers, and then we were about to leave on April 10th, but obviously that didn't happen, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay, and it will, it will be back. But yeah, I mean, when I started this podcast, it was kind of at the beginning of things, and there was still like, oh, maybe like a few months down the line we'll be back to normal, and I'll be talking to these people about just kind of how they're biding their time. And I very quickly realized as the weeks went on, like, oh, we're all just kind of in stasis, and like nobody knows what's happening, and there's not really much of anything to talk about in terms of like how you're maintaining your music career at this time. Because for most of us, it's like, maybe you're doing some live stream shows, maybe you're putting out some digital releases, but that's basically all you can do. So you can only talk about that, so much.
I know, and it's annoying to hear yourself talk about it a lot. So I have tried to just, I think I have written a lot. I'm thankful that I'm not gonna lie to myself, like I have written more than I did before, and I'm actually taking guitar lessons with Pete Lalish, who is the guitar player for the band Lucius, if you know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been taking lessons with him every week, and I'm like, oh, I guess I wouldn't have taken lessons if this didn't happen, maybe? I don't know. I'm not very on it with lessons, and he has really helped me a lot through this time.
Yeah, so if you can come out of quarantine as like, like leveled up several levels as a guitar player, then that's not a waste of time.
Right? I want to shred so bad, and playing guitar does not come naturally to me. Instruments do not come naturally to me. They never have. I don't pick up an instrument and completely know what I'm doing and have all the feels about it. So I am really thankful to finally. It's frustrating. I just started learning bar chords. I know that sounds, if that's embarrassing, I'm sorry, but I just started learning to play bar chords, and my little fingers are sore, MK.
It's hard, dude. I'm in the same boat where like I was never like a strong instrumentalist, and like I actually, not to sound like braggy or anything, but like I know I have like a knack for it. Typically when I pick up an instrument, I can start to kind of like get a handle on it fairly quickly, but then I hit the first plateau where it's like, okay, if I want to get better at this, I'm going to have to work. And that's not appealing. So I kind of like, I'm also like you, I've been a vocalist, and, your vocal instrument is easy to use and fun to use. And, I commend you for putting in the work to become a better guitarist.
Oh, thanks. I commend you too for it just being able to talk about levels that we're at. I know that plateau. I always think to myself, oh, I'm going to be at this level for the next 10 years if I don't practice. So practicing has surely been something I am really trying to do. And yeah, that has been something to keep me a bit sane.
Yeah. Are you bouncing around at all from hobby to hobby, or have you been pretty focused? Because I find I'll spend a week where I'm like, yeah, I'm practicing violin. And then I'll like, the next week it's like, oh, I remember trumpet. And then the week after that, it's like, I just learned about steel mace flow, and now that's my thing.
Okay, wait, what is your astrological sign?
Gemini?
Me too! Wait. I was just going to say, oh, you're a Gemini because I'm a Gemini, and every week, oh, sorry, there's an ambulance. Well,
don't worry about it.
Ambulance.
It's totally
but I every single week, MK, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, this week it's plants. Just this next week, it's sewing. And music sort of even goes away for a moment because I just look at myself, I stare at myself, and I'm like, okay, if you bike 100 miles next week, you are achieving something. Yeah, it must be a Gemini thing. I'm convinced.
Yeah, that's really, really funny. I didn't know you were also a Gemini, and that is a strong confirmation that there's something to astrology, that we both have that going on. And that actually kind of brings me into the main thing that we wanted to talk about today, which this is awesome because I've never had a chance to really talk about it before. We're both queer women, and like let's talk about that. Like,
this is breaking news. My first queer woman interview that I can actually be excited to speak. I feel like I don't usually talk about my queerness when I speak to people. It's not out of anyone's fault, but I don't know, I think it's just now in the world being talked about so openly, and we have these amazing queer icons and music that we can kind of turn to and learn from. And yeah, I am so proud to be a part of the queer community, and I really want my music to like uphold that so much. Yeah, I'm glad we can both talk about it.
Yeah, and I feel that too with like I haven't really talked about it very much, and this is the first time that like I've done an interview where it was like all about that for both of us. And I think for me, like it wasn't out of any sense of shame. It was just kind of like maybe I almost feel like I'm not queer enough to like represent properly
Yeah.
because like I'm bisexual. I, lean more towards guys. I tend to date more guys, but like my first like kisses as a teenager, my first loves, my first crushes were all girls. And like when I was younger, like I don't even know if I recognized right away that that meant that I could possibly be on the bisexual spectrum or like on the queer spectrum. I think it was just like, yeah, like of course, like girls are awesome and like boys are gross. It took me a while to be like,
my
oh,
God.
actually I'm bi. So
I am
yeah.
in the same exact boat. I am in that bi boat with you. I feel like my queerness has room to grow, room to change. I want to I want to explore it. I want to really get involved. But yeah, I feel the exact same way as you. I never talked about it because I didn't know if I have never been intimate with a woman, can I still call myself queer? Answer, yes.
Mm-hmm.
If I, haven't done this. But I think, yeah, growing up, all the people, I was like, why do I have feelings for these women on television? Am I allowed to? I mean, I grew up in Baltimore with a open-minded family, but we didn't really talk about sex or sexuality. And I definitely am thankful for the internet and for people that speak up about their queerness. I follow a lot of like queer Instagram accounts that help me a lot to figure it out. But also finding a community. Do you agree with that? I feel like the Hudson Valley, I'm pretty new to, but I feel like the Hudson Valley is definitely a very queer positive, queer friendly place. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course there's some shitty people around here too, but I think the trend is towards people who are really cool and accepting. I mean, look at, Uptown Kingston has the trans flags and the LGBTQ flags painted on the crosswalks, and that's right by the LGBTQ center. Like, yeah, I think the norm is people being very open and very accepting around here. And yeah, it's I guess it's the not wanting to speak for a group when like I know I'm a very privileged member of that group because I present pretty cis hetero, but like yeah, I mean, I still qualify, and I guess I'm also kind of coming into like now that I'm over 30, maybe that's it. I'm like, oh, actually, like, no, this is a part of my identity, and it's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to be open about it.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, it's
I wanna weep because I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that we had this in common,
me
and it
neither.
feels really good to have somebody in my community that I can talk to it about, and that we can be public about it. I just really appreciate that so much from you.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, so I mean, I
Oh,
think represent.
I also want to say we have to save all music venues because BSP Halloween is where I've made out with 100 girls consensually, and it has been the greatest time of my life. I can't even describe it. We must save our music venues. We
Yeah.
must them.
Very much that, and it's funny you mentioned Halloween because Halloween is my favorite holiday, especially
Me
here,
too.
and
Me
especially
too.
because of BSP and because it's always such a wild ass party. And this
Wild.
year it's gonna be on a Saturday, so it would have been like probably the best one
Oh,
ever. And Allison, I had plans already to dress up as characters from She-Ra, so like,
okay.
come on.
I have no. This this has to happen. I just if anybody's listening, and you know what, everyone that listens to your podcast is wearing a mask, so
Yes.
I am sure of it. And if you're not, please wear a mask so
Mhm.
Halloween could potentially come back to us.
Yeah, like do it for Halloween.
Do it for Halloween, you dum dums. Oh man, I
Yeah.
love. means so much.
But yeah, that's funny because we ran into each other on the street the other day, and I was like, oh, you should be on the podcast. Like, what do you want to talk about? And you were like, hot girls. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, totally. Not even
I
realizing,
yeah.
like, this is how dense I am. When you said that, I was like, yeah, totally. But I still didn't peg you as queer.
You
That's
know, I
how.
did. I am. My partner is a hetero man,
Mhm.
and I think that you're right. It gets people are like, oh, huh, really? But I pretty much talk about wanting to have a threesome every single day. Like that's
Yeah.
a very like public conversation of mine. I'm not like ashamed or shy of my sexuality, which I was for my entire growing up sexuality. Like I really was so ashamed, so not open about it. And I'm just, I don't know, my life is going to be too short to be like that. So I'm really glad I have a partner that is super supportive of me being like, hi, MK, I want to talk about hot girls.
Yeah, and I also am lucky. I also have a straight male partner, which I realize I don't know. I was gonna be like, oh, it makes us like some specific type of bisexual girl, but like fuck that, because like we can be who we are and be with who we're with, and not have to turn it into this like pigeonholing thing. But anyway, also very lucky that my partner's very supportive, and I think, like I said before, I didn't have any specific like shame around it, but I guess there is like a certain like I feel like I need to maybe be a little bit careful when I'm talking to my female friends about it, because I still, and maybe this goes back to like high school, like, being slightly bullied for stuff like this, where like I don't want anyone to perceive me as like hitting on them when I'm not trying to. And that
Hmm.
also turns into me being completely dense when a girl is interested in me. And I have been in a couple of relationships with women, and they've been wonderful, and but I one of them was like, she was very blatantly like, I like you romantically. And then the other one,
Romantically, I like you. Romance,
yeah,
romance, romance.
like this is cards on the table. And then the other one I met on OK Cupid, so again there could be no mistake.
Oh my gosh,
But
that is amazing. I love
I'm
it.
so dense when it comes to like, a girl flirting with me or something. I'm just like, oh yeah, she's just being cool and like, likes my hair or whatever.
That's really, really, really adorable and lovely. And that's why, I mean, consent is so sexy. You can be like, I am flirting with you. Are you okay with this? I am the questions queen. I'm like, may I kiss you? Do you feel comfortable with me kissing you? You know how people have that weird thing where they're like, oh, it ruins the sex appeal when you ask questions. I'm like, are you from 1910? It is so hot when someone
Yes.
get complete consent. Consent is so hot to me, and I really try to use my words really carefully. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I agree with that. Sometimes I can't read the room too. I'm like, is that person flirting with me, or do I just really like her hair? What's happening?
Well, and women are also, even straight women are so, often so great about, being supportive of each other and being, open with compliments and stuff like that. And I love that about women, and I never want to make a woman uncomfortable ever. So,
Hmm.
it's this very like kind of towing this fine line of like not wanting to cause offense or discomfort, but also like, hey, like if somebody's interested in me and I could maybe be interested in them, like that's something I'd like to know. So I don't know. Do you have?
Yeah.
Can you walk me through, like, so you've made out with a bunch of girls at BSP parties. How does that usually go?
I'm also a known exaggerator with numbers, so I said 100, but it's probably not that much. But I think I am the questions queen, even if I'm having an alcoholic beverage or two, which can happen to me. I just remember on Halloween, there's so many beautiful women in amazing costumes dressed up and you dancing, and I basically think that I asked, I like, you look really beautiful. Would you like to kiss? It's okay if I'm too talky. I'm like, it's all right. If not, don't feel any pressure. I mean, this is like music playing in the background, like doom, 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 doom. I'm like, don't feel any pressure. It's cool if not. And usually I was met with a lot of course, thank you so much for asking. And then bam,
Yeah. That's so
uh,
cute and charming. Like, yeah, absolutely. And that does actually remind me of my favorite girl that I dated, which unfortunately didn't work out because she was moving to France and I was moving to the Adirondacks, and the timing was terrible. But we really liked each other, and this was the one I met on OK Cupid. And we had our first date, and we went back to our cars, and I was like, listen, This was really cool. I'm really happy we met. I don't want you to feel any pressure. I'm just excited to meet somebody. Like, I was living in Connecticut at the time. I was like, you're fucking cool. You know, let's be friends. If it turns into more, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I would still like to be your friend. And I will never forget, like, the big smile that came across her face, because I could just see the relief of, like, oh my God, like, this person likes me even if they don't necessarily get to sleep with me.
It's so women. That's another reason. I don't know if you agree with this, that like I love women. I'm so happy to like have an attraction to women, because generally, not all women, but generally women are just so good at communication and good at like saying how they feel without being defensive or brash or argumentative. I don't know. It's so different, but just like in those sensitive situations, I just appreciate women so much. And yeah, I cherish that kind of thing of being like, no pressure for this moment to happen, but like I have these feelings, I need to speak them. I love it.
I do too. And I think, you know, it's such a shame because it's not inherent to, you know, being genetically female. It's the way we're socialized and the way we're conditioned and the way we're brought up to be more in touch with our emotions and told that it's okay for us to be in touch with our emotions. And we should be doing that for men too.
100%. I mean, if I could go back in time from ages when I started kissing people, ages 15 till like last year, the year before, I would try to be like, oh, Allison, these people do not know how to communicate. These people are pressuring you in different ways. These people don't know how to talk, how to like have a conversation. Yeah, any awkward or like horrific sexual encounter I've had with people, men, in my life, I'm like, man, I wish I could have had the education, the power, and like to know myself enough to say something. Which is why I don't take any bullshit now. Am I allowed to? Can you curse on your podcast?
100%.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. I just put a explicit tag on every episode, but this is the funnest thing about doing a podcast as opposed to radio, is I can say whatever I want. So yeah, please.
Yeah, are you enjoying it? Am I allowed to ask you a question?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, are you enjoying podcast world? What is it like? Because I love podcasts, and I'm really excited you got into this. I mean, I loved you on radio, and I just think that you were like a huge important part and are of our community on radio, and I'm just excited to see you do this. How are you feeling doing podcast things?
Well, thank you so much. And I love it. I love the conversations. I've loved the interviews. You know, having the ability to talk for as long as we want. I mean, I've been capping them at about an hour because I just assume nobody wants to like listen or talk for too much longer than that. But, you know, being able to like talk for an hour about anything, you know, not just like promoting the latest album, but like going deep on subjects like this. Or, you know, I spoke to Brandy Thompson last week, who's in a very cool band called Brandy and the Alexanders down in the city. And we talked about Black Lives Matter and like just, you know, all this, whatever people want to talk about, whatever's on their mind. And you know, I couldn't really do that on the radio because I was representing the station and I had to kind of keep it professional. And now I'm representing myself, and I, as a person, am not professional even a little bit. So
you are so professional. You have. That's really funny.
But
I get great. It. I feel so similar. I was, you know, in the recent times of the world, I don't have a label or a manager or a booking agent. I completely represent myself, and isn't it so freeing?
Yes.
Yes.
Also scary. Because, you know, of course you have to do all of your own promotion and you are responsible for your own success or failure. And that's terrifying, but it's also empowering.
Terrifying. You should see me making homemade posters on my stupid, like, tiny app that's make a poster, and it's me copying, pasting, and trying to make letters. I'm like, what font is cool? Just me at home being like, which font is cool? It's crazy.
I relate to that very hard. I'm a very bad graphic designer, and I had luckily talented people help me with the logos for this podcast. I had one that was a collaboration between my friends Kate Marcos and Leanne Hamill, and then another one that the little drawing of me I commissioned from this girl who goes by the Pulp Girls on Instagram. And
cool.
They're
just
all
looked at the logos. I love them, and I also love Kate. Shout out.
shout out to Kate, very talented in many, many areas. And she was really kind to help me. All these people were, I tried to make my own temporary logo and it looks like a fucking child did it. Like, it's insane. It's so, and I tried. I was doing my best.
And you see someone that it's like their profession and you say to yourself, oh, that's why they are professionals in this. Oh, I couldn't agree more. Just add that to our Gemini qualities.
So, Allison, I wanted to ask, when we were talking, over Facebook, setting up this session, you mentioned like kind of some of your experiences of like being on stage, like with the band, and kind of having guys assume that you were looking for a hookup after the show. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I have not really toured, so I have not really been exposed to that many creeps in my music life.
Oh my gosh. If we could do a whole podcast called Creeps. I think it's a bummer. Put this on my tombstone. I think it's a bummer that I can't be sexy on stage without being sexualized. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a bummer that I want to be sexy and feel confident and powerful in myself without men thinking that it is completely for and toward them.
Yeah.
It's just strange to me. I don't know what gives a permission for someone to come up afterward at a show, which has happened to me, and just say inappropriate things. Just try to be really aggressive without asking me if I would like to be, have someone be aggressive toward me. They're just, drunk guys at shows being like, oh, the way you held that guitar, wish you held me that way. I've heard that, which is crazy. Crazy bananas that they say that. Or just, I definitely, a thing with me is hugging people, men trying to hug me after the show, like they know me. I'm someone that's sensitive toward touching. And so, a lot of men would try to touch or hug me, grab my arm, grab my body. And I do not like that. I am a sensitive person when it comes to if you're going to even hug me, which I know is strange for some people, but usually I put my hand out for a handshake first. I just don't hug until I know someone.
Yeah.
That's just a me thing. It's an Al thing. So I think, I just hope that in this new season of my solo career, I can still attempt to be a sexual being and still respected. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm really hoping, because if you're angry toward them, then you're a bitch.
Right.
If you're, and then what if they like tweet, Allison was a bitch to me? It's so stupid, but I think about that. I have this like weird thing ingrained in me. Like, what if a man thinks I'm a bitch? What if he thinks I'm mean? What if he thinks I'm rude? And that's so silly. And I don't want to think like that.
Absolutely. And, this is all really interesting to think about because, like you said, being sexy, wanting to be sexy, wanting to feel sexy is not an invitation for anybody to, come up and touch you or make gross comments to you. And I get that. And I think a lot of people, especially unfortunately, a lot of men, hashtag not all men, but a lot of them have a hard time wrapping their heads around why a woman would want to feel sexy or look sexy if it's not for them. And I totally understand you. And I think pretty much every woman listening or, female presenting person is going to be able to relate to that. And I can't explain it other than just it's for yourself. It's because you want to feel good. It's because, when you're going to a show and you're going to be on stage in front of a bunch of people and you're looking in the mirror at your outfit that you're putting together, you want to look at it and go, fuck yeah, I look awesome. And it's not about like, what are they going to be seeing? It's about how do I feel?
Yes. And if some nights on stage I want to wear a potato sack and just like sweatpants, I want to fucking be able to do that. And then if I want to wear booty shorts and a crop top, I don't want, a guy that we played this like venue in Boston. I love Boston, no shade to Boston. But this guy, I think we played there twice, same guy would come to the shows and be like, legs. Legs. I'm like, oh my God, there's the legs guy. Just don't be the legs guy.
Wow. What goes through a person's, I don't know. We don't have to delve into the psychology of legs guy because I'm sure there's not that much, but like, Jesus Christ. And yeah, like
Don't get wasted at a show. Don't get wasted. I know you want to get wasted with your friends, but getting completely smashed at a show is just
it's not a good look.
no.
Yeah. Getting, I mean, the older I get, the more just getting smashed in general is not a good look for me and
Same.
for anybody. I mean, obviously everybody should do what, follow your heart, follow your bliss. But I personally, yeah, the last few times that I've been like very, very drunk, I have woken up the next day like, oh God, I wish I didn't do that. And it's not even that I did anything that bad, but just, it, for one, you feel like shit. I'm over 30
Oh,
now. Like, I get hangovers and they suck. And, also, like, I'll just think back to, like, just a moment that I was, like, louder than I needed to be, or, like, making a joke that wasn't as funny as I thought it was at the time. And I'm just like, oh, God, I wish none of that happened. And it's, of course, usually you're surrounded by other people who are just as drunk and nobody cares. But still, like, I'm trying not to do that anymore.
I feel the exact same, and I love to surround myself with people that feel the exact same. All my friends, I feel like, are growing with this concept. I know that you like to be active too. I'm obsessed with running and biking. I know people are like, musician, running, biking? What? And I can't do that if I'm hungover. So
Right.
I would much rather not be hungover and have an active day. Than I love that people are going to be listening to this like, wait. Weren't you guys talking about hot girls? Now you're talking about being hungover and biking. It's like, you got to come with us, folks. You
That's the
got to come with
podcast.
us.
Ride that Gemini wave.
Right.
Yeah, but I totally agree. I also, like you said, I love to run. My bike is actually in the shop, but I'm excited to get back into biking this summer if it stops being a million degrees. Yeah, walk the dogs every day. I've been doing a lot of like home workout stuff, and yeah, if you wake up with a hangover, then your whole day gets thrown off, and it sucks.
Yeah, it's not fun. I'm over it. I'm too old to do it. I think anyone over like 23 is too old to do it. No offense if you want to keep doing it, go for it, but yeah, it's not for me. But you know what? Never say never. Maybe I'll have a few too many drinks on Halloween if it happens again.
I'm sure there will be, also, I'm not saying never again. Like that's setting myself up for disappointment, but it'll probably happen a few more times in my life, but I'm trying to make the norm like just, have a few drinks. And I think I'm good about it, like feeling kind of that limit, like a few drinks in and realizing like, okay, now's a good time to drink some water.
100%. I have one water for every drink, and it usually, 3 drinks, you're fine. The next time we're both hungover, we should go get a bagel or something.
That would be nice. That would be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something you were saying about being afraid of being perceived as rude, or about somebody, tweeting that you were rude, because of course, you're an artist and it's important to have a good public image. And of course, a tweet unfortunately can make or break you sometimes. But you were talking about that, and I was thinking about another thing that I talk way too much on this show about, which is Taylor Swift. And I don't know if you know her single The Man.
I do.
But she specifically addresses just this, where she was like, it should be that, whether I would like what I was wearing on a certain day or whether I was rude should be able to be separate from, what she says is my good ideas and power moves, which is a fine way of putting it. And that, that men are not held to that same standard, that a male artist is more likely to be able to like be a dick to fans, get drunk at a show and, say something stupid. And afterwards everyone's like, yeah, haha, that was so funny how wasted he was. He's so like, what a dick, blah, and like still like him just as much. They don't have to worry as much about being quote unquote likable.
I'm like thinking of 3 men I've seen on stage do exactly what you just described. And yeah, you're right. You're so right. Oh my gosh. We need to talk this through, because now being a new solo artist, I don't know how to go about this. How do you think, I know you asked me, but how do we as women combat that? Like,
I almost think it's a matter of like exposure therapy, where we just have to be assholes.
yeah.
Or like, if not assholes, just not apologize for ourselves so much, and just, like I have this fantasy where I run for office in a few years, and it's not that hard to find. I almost don't want to say this because I feel like people are just going to go look, but like I did some modeling when I was younger. It's not that hard to find some pictures of me on the internet. And like, I know if I ever ran for office, that would come up. And I want to be the candidate who says, yeah, like, I don't care. I'm not ashamed of it. Like, I was in my early 20s and I looked fucking good. Like, you would have done it too, you know? Like,
I
so.
will vote for the person that looked amazing in their modeling photos. Like, why does that have to be held against us?
Right. And that's why I'm saying, like, maybe we just need to, like, not apologize for our behavior. You know, if you're doing a signing after a show and somebody says something shitty and you respond in a snippy way and they later tweet, oh, Allison was mean to me, then you just say, like, yeah, you were rude, I was rude back, we both showed our asses, all right, next question. Like,
Exactly. Like, I want to start, if it's like for good cause and good reason. I don't know. I'm someone that always had that thing of being super apologetic my whole life. I think it stems from like insecurities, body image issues, like total things, like so many things that, therapy has dug up for me. But I think that, yeah, I want to start being just really, really confident in myself as an artist. Like that, I'm not going to take shitty comments from people just to save face or to have them not tweet about me. I don't even have a Twitter, but I'm like, what if they tweet? I think you're right. Just holding our ground and saying what we need to say. And if people take it badly, yeah, I'm so willing to have a dialogue about it. And you can't always, but yeah, definitely not going to worry about, I'm sure someone has said Allison was rude to me. I'm sure. Cause everybody says everybody's rude.
yeah.
But
yeah, and I always, I take those stories with a grain of salt always when someone's like, well, I met so-and-so and they were mean to me. It's like, well, maybe they were having a bad day. Like, you don't know what was going on.
I agree. MK, I agree with you so much. When someone's like, oh, that celebrity's rude. I'm like, wait. Are they rude though? Or were they just having a bad day?
Right. Because we all do. And like, yeah, we hold celebrities to this standard. And I think we hold women to this standard way more often and female celebrities so much more. And I'm like the whole culture of like the Karen thing, which like I am totally on board with, calling out the type of middle-aged white woman that calls the cops on a guy bird watching. 100%, that type of person needs to be shut down and put in their place. But, I think it's kind of almost turning into this thing of like anytime a woman stands up for herself, she gets called a Karen. And like, I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, of course. Exactly what you said. Like the folks that are outright being racist, homophobic, fatphobic, any of those things, I want to see it called out. Me, myself included, I want that to happen and I want to educate myself. But yeah, we have to stop calling women bitches if they're just being honest or defending themselves. Right. We have to just stop. All of that to say, the amount of people that have been kind and nice to me and how much I can't believe if like 10 people come to my show, I want to sob on stage that that has completely outnumbered the folks that have been rude to me.
Absolutely.
Like, seriously, if someone comes to a show of mine, I just cry. I'm like, I can't believe you're here. I can't believe you're here. It is bananas.
That's a great attitude to have, I guess. Like, I mean, not that, I don't know if it's indicative of like not giving yourself enough credit, because you should absolutely give yourself all the credit for putting in the work and being a good artist and, making music that people want to hear. But yeah, I mean, humility is great. And like, just knowing that, and I felt the same way. I feel the same way about this podcast. If anybody comes up to me and is like, hey, I listened to the latest episode, it was great. I'm like, oh my God, like you listened to it? Thank you. Like, you didn't have to. Like, you spent an hour listening to this thing that I made and you didn't have to. So I do get it, but maybe we both need to just own that we're putting good content into the world.
Yes, I want to do that. I want to stop being so like, oh, I can't believe you're here. It's like, no, I'm so glad you're here. And like with your podcast, like, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're listening. And yeah, it's awesome that we're creating something. Yeah, taking more credit. I'm such an apologizer. I want to quit that. I'm such a like, oh, sorry, even if I'm not sorry, which is not a good habit, and I'm trying to stop.
Yeah, I think these are all very, very female issues, I think. I don't think I'm wrong in saying that. These are all things that, like, we as women are conditioned to be nice, to apologize for taking up too much space, to never be rude, never make any waves, never make anybody mad, don't be bossy, don't be loud. And yeah, it's a shame, and it goes back also to the sexuality thing because I think we are privileged as women to be a little bit more free to explore our sexuality, and the fact that I always felt like my being bi was like not that big a deal because it's not. But I mean, I think so many people fall somewhere in the middle of the Kinsey scale, whereas they think that they, especially men, feel like they have to be gay or straight.
Mm.
And I wish that men had the same freedom women do to, explore their sexuality and to feel a little bit more fluid about it. And, if you're attracted to a guy friend, that's okay. That doesn't have to be scary. That can be just like, okay, I know that about myself. And like, yeah, I don't know. What
We
what
have
are
to
what are your
change.
thoughts?
I think, yeah, I just like having this conversation, I think will hopefully, and like to your male listeners that are listening, just to know that there are folks that will support them in their journeys. And I think like following people online that are positive toward that movement, like follow gay people, follow trans people, support Black lives, like do all the things to open your mind, and maybe it won't be so scary if a man, a straight, who seems straight, a straight man being like, oh, I'm attracted to another man. Like, why is that? I don't know. It's a conversation to all my male friends, I love to just totally feel open to them to like discuss sexuality, and I try to discuss mine so that it seems like a safe platform.
Totally.
And
And nothing makes me happier than like when guys can be open about like thinking another guy is hot. Like I love, there's like a podcast that I listen to with these like kind of broy LA dudes talking about action movies, and like, they're all super progressive but like very casually so, and like the one guy will just be like, oh my god, Tom Cruise, what a hunk, and like I love that. Like he's
yeah,
this like
I mean, any sort of if any man I'm with is like, no, I would never look at another man, I'm like, you have some things you need to work out in yourself, and hopefully you can find the power to do that.
yeah, it's like what's so scary about thinking another human is beautiful?
Oh, MK, that's what we're just trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say too. I don't know. I don't know what it, I mean, it's obviously something like built into men too, of having this like, men don't cry, men don't do these things. But I think it is changing. I think that the more conversations we get to have will open it up. And any hetero straight men listening to this, like, I hope that they can feel open to it.
Likewise, and I think also, heartbreakingly, a big part of it is misogyny and internalized misogyny in both men and women, where, to be traditionally masculine is kind of aspirational. Like, a girl who's into like sports and hunting or whatever, beer is like cool, and she's one of the guys and she's somebody to look up to. Whereas, a guy who's into, I don't like fashion and baking, whatever women are supposed to be into, is, kind of degraded and like treated like less than, and like he's girly, oh, you're being feminine, and like that's a bad thing, whereas it's a good thing to be masculine. And we need to fucking get over that shit, because it's
So
cool
stupid.
to be feminine, it's cool to be masculine, it's cool to be whatever the fuck you want to be. These are made up value assignments. Like we've these are arbitrary.
Yeah, like it starts with like nourishing like your children in saying like they can do whatever they want. I mean, I don't have kids, I can't speak on being a parent, but any kind of, there's no line of what your child can be into and can grow into. So I think it starts with, and I think our generation is obviously so much more progressive, but I'm really lucky that my parents were always like, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do, that's cool with us. They were always like that. So I feel really, really lucky that they were.
Yeah, likewise. And I have many awesome, parent friends my age who've started to have kids in the last few years, who I know are going at parenting from that standpoint, where it's like whatever my kid is interested in organically, that is what we will, support for them. Like it, without the gender constructs, and that's wonderful. But yeah, it's a struggle. There's still a lot of people out there who are very in love with tradition, and the word tradition is always annoying for me to hear, because it's like, what is tradition? Like, why are we so in love with it? Like, what's, it's not inherently good just because we've been doing it for a long time.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Yeah, I hope to dismantle some of the traditions that I uphold that are, I'm sure not okay. And yeah, I've never been I don't feel very kindred to a lot of normal traditions that people in my life do. But I think that's something we can work on, right? We just have to like look at what we're doing and think, oh, is this rooted in racism, sexism, something evil, or is it something good? Let's start our own something that is not called traditions.
Yeah. Or,
That are
you know,
cool.
we can have traditions and then, you know, and have them for just the reason that we enjoy doing them. It doesn't have to be this big deep thing like, you know, Christmas every year is such a struggle for people because
Oh yeah.
there's the Christians who are like, well, it's about Jesus, and then other people who are like, well, actually, no, the tradition of a winter holiday long predates the whole Jesus thing, and it was, you know, co-opted, whatever. Jesus was born in April, I don't, whatever. But like, I like Christmas very much. I enjoy the getting together with family, and I like the pretty lights, and I like the gifts, and I like all of that very, very much. But you know, I feel like it's all tied into this whole like rah, Christ. And it's like, if you like Christ, sure, cool, do you, but like, it's not everybody has to.
I feel like I didn't learn even what I actually am like still a little unclear about even what Christmas is because this is a really fun owl fact, but I've never been to church. I've never like gone to a church.
Huh, nice.
So I don't ever know. I'm like, wait, I love these gifts. I love what's going on, but wait, what is this? What's this all about? So it's always funny for me when things are rooted in religion, just because I just have no idea about anything when
That's
it comes to
amazing.
that.
So your parents never had any pressure from grandparents or anything to like take the kids to church at all?
I guess not. I'm thinking that my dad's mother, who's still alive, maybe was Catholic growing up, but she never really talked about it or talks about it. And it wasn't, my parents were never even talked about it. They weren't like, we're not going to church because we want your mind to be open. We just didn't go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were just super chill. My parents are chill.
Yeah, they sound awesome. I wish I had
They're
had that
like,
experience. I mean, and my parents were not at all like serious about religion, but we went for a while because my grandparents wanted us to. And you know, my parents, I cannot stress enough, were also quite chill. But like, I did go to like there was something called CCD, which
yeah.
I don't remember what it stood for, Catholic something something. But basically it was like after school religious education, and like I had to do that for a while, and it sucked, and it was boring, and like, yeah, and luckily I had parents who were like, you don't have to take any of this seriously. But I mean, the poor kids who have to take it seriously and are so damaged by all of the messaging of like, if you do this, that, and the other, if you have fun and smile, you'll go to hell. Like, oh my God, like,
Yeah, my best friend growing up, and she is still my best friend. She grew up in a Christian household, and her parents were missionaries. And I learned anything I do know from her. But yeah, I think she's having a lot of revelations about that as she gets older. Not saying like what she does or doesn't believe in, but just you just learn a lot more when you're not a kid in CCD. I'm sure
yeah.
I'm sure it's great for some people. Whatever your preference is, as long as you're not hurting someone, I'm super cool with. But I can't imagine.
I'm becoming more and more kind of radicalized to the idea that like religion is bad. We just shouldn't do it because I mean, like, I think it is damaging. I think it really is damaging to have this like this thing that is all about indoctrination, you know, that you're exposed to from a very, very early age. Parents are bringing babies to church and they grow up knowing that as like, you know, just a part of life that they just take for granted. And literally the messaging can be, I mean, sometimes, okay, yes, sometimes it can be fine. I think there are wonderful churches out there that are involved with their communities and are accepting and are cool. But like, there's so many others with this insidious messaging about like, you know, keep your virginity and obey your husband and don't put a toe out of line, and like, it's Jesus Christ, like, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine following any rules. That's my new quote. I can't imagine dot 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 following any rules.
That's the headstone quote.
I really can't. I just can't. I don't. I mean, the only rules are rules I give myself, and I follow those. But yeah, if someone was like, "You gotta wait to have sex," I would have been like, "Okay,
Why?
well, no boys like me right now in high school, so you're in luck." But
Also, who cares? Like, what business is it of yours?
yeah. Oh man, yeah. I'm really thankful that I didn't grow up with that, but if it still works for you, I support you. And, you know, if it works and you pray, that's cool. I was thinking about maybe trying to pray one day in my life. Maybe I will, open to it, but so far things are fine for me.
I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, and I don't want to, shit on something that helps somebody, but my problem with religion lately is that I don't really see it helping. I only see it hurting. But I don't know. Like, do you consider yourself like spiritual at all? Do you have any kind of like, do you do like mindfulness practice, anything like that?
You know what? I don't. I wish I could tell you that I do. I mainly have a lot of like doomy thoughts that is probably linked with listening to a lot of like true crime podcasts. I constantly, like every few months, I have like a panic attack of like what does happen when you die. But other than that, no. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just riding the wave and like living the best I can and just wondering things. And that's it. I don't meditate. I want to start getting into it. I have like a Buddhism for beginners book that I've never opened. But yeah, my partner meditates and he's so good about that. And he says it helps him think about things more clearly and have less doomy thoughts. So I don't know. Have you ever meditated?
Well, it's funny because when I interviewed James, that was like the week that I was doing mindfulness, and I was like, yeah, this is my new thing. I'm into this. So at the time, yes, but I've very much fallen out of practice in just a couple of weeks. So, and it was helping. It is really good. I think, not even as like a spiritual practice, but just as like a psychological practice. It's very, very helpful. But I don't want to blame it on astrology, but I do have some Gemini tendencies that make it hard to stick with things. And yeah, I have not been consistent with it.
Same. I'm basically like, I love the idea of ghosts and I'm really into spooky stuff, I think, but I'm also scared of it. And I love astrology. And I think the closest thing to religion is the enneagram test for me. Do you know what this is?
Is that the INTJ?
It is not. Everybody always asks me that. It is not that test, MK, and I'm hoping after this podcast you and whoever's listening will take this test. It's like ENNEGRAM. Huh. It's called the Enneagram test. You get a number 1 through 9, and it has cracked my coconut open on what kind of person I am. And when you receive your number, you should let me know what it is. And I hope I put you down a rabbit hole.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to go do that immediately.
I just be patient. It takes like 20 minutes. You have to answer so many questions. But I'm telling you, for my birthday, James's mom got me like a whole Enneagram book. She's really into it too. So it will take you down a rabbit hole. Shout out to my friend Sarah Tuckman who got me into it. She really got me into it when I lived in Nashville, and it was all I could think about until now. So for 5 years, that's all I've thought about.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, definitely going to do it because I also love personality tests. I love anything like that. It's even though like it doesn't usually tell me anything that I don't know, but it's still so interesting to like I don't like we're always trying to get to know ourselves better, I guess.
Oh yeah, I love reading about something and going, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. Oh my gosh, that's me. It's really funny. Yeah. And just so you know, I am a 4. So when you read it, when you find out your number, I'm just going to let you know right now that I'm a 4.
Okay. I'll bear that in mind and I'll look into it. I'm also now thinking that we have to do another of these episodes sometime down the line because I'm also very into ghosts and spooky shit.
I know we didn't even get to ghosts. I have a couple ghost stories, so we might have to do one in the future because I have a lot of ghosty stuff we could get into.
Yeah, I want to ask you about it now because we could stretch it out, but I also think maybe we should save it for next time.
Yeah, next time we could do like lighthearted, spooky ghosts, snacks, things like that.
Favorite animals. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I would be so honored if you ever have me back. I would just be so excited. Maybe when I have music on the internet to listen to, since right now I don't.
Yeah, let's make a plan. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, Allison, this was a blast. Thank you so much. That flew by.
It really did. The time. It is gone.
It does that.
You are such a lovely person to talk to, and you are every time I see you, you are just like magnetic and so charming and just like a really I just want to gas you up and just tell you how wonderful you are.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to leave that in the podcast.
Please do not take this out. You are so, so wonderful to be around.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad you got to meet my dog.
Oh my gosh. Okay, folks. Her dog is something else. That is a bear.
He's a special boy. And yeah, it was very funny that he recognized James and was very happy to see him.
He was like, I ate your hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
James looked at him. He looked at him with forgiveness in his eyes.
James was very cool about the hat incident. So yeah.
Good old James. He's a gem.
Could not have asked for a more understanding dog roommate.
The way he is about Figgy is the way he is about my bisexuality.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. Easy come, easy go.
Supportive.
Well, Allison, thank you so much. Do you have socials to plug before I let you go?
Yes, and my new, I wanted to tell you in the beginning, but my new stage name is actually, I'm going by Al.
Cool.
Al Olender. So you can find me on socials at Al Olender on Instagram. I think my Facebook is still, no, it's Al Olender. Yeah, so my first name's Al, A-L, last name's Olender. I will have my first single out in August.
Nope, I will be looking for it. Thanks for listening to More Music Please Quarantine Beat. Follow the show on Instagram at moremusic.podcast and check out the website moremusicpodcast.com for new episodes. Questions or comments, email moremusic.podcast@gmail.com. Thanks to DJ Scully, Michael Cadnar, and James Stewart for the catchy theme song you're hearing now. I'm MK Burnell. Talk to you next time.